anytime you factor, the first thing you need to do is factor out the greatest monomial factor. Then, consider how many terms you have. If there are 2 terms, you're going to use the difference of squares rule. If there are 3 terms, there are 3 possibilities. You might want to check if it's a perfect square trinomial. If not, check if the coefficient is 1. If it is, you can factor it using just the multiplies 2 and adds 2 rule. When in doubt, if it's none of the 3 above, put it in a factor box. The nice thing about all of these problems, if you are not sure, the factor box will always work. This would be an excellent chart to have in your notes for class tomorrow. Let's consider this polynomial. How can I factor it? First thing I have to do, according to my flow chart here, factor out the greatest monomial factor. What do all of these have in common? 4. I'm left with x squared minus 10x minus 24. Okay, now I definitely have 3 terms, so that brings me down to this column. Is it a PST? Perfect square, not a perfect square, so no. Next, check for the coefficient of 1. Is the coefficient here 1? Yes. So since it is, I can just figure out what 2 numbers multiply to be this and add to be this. I'm going to set up 2 parentheses. What numbers multiply to be negative 24 and add to be negative 10? I believe we are looking for negative 12 and positive 2. What goes up here? X and x. Now I can consider this one. First step, as always, factor out the greatest monomial factor. And right here, they are both divisible by 2 and they both have a y. 2y goes out in front. 121x squared minus 81. If I look at what I have left, there are 2 terms. If there are 2 terms, that's easy. It's the dose rule. Is this a perfect square? Yes, it's 11x squared. Is this a perfect square? Yes, it is 9. So I put 11x and 11x. 9, 9, plus, minus, with the 2y in front. We'll now consider this one. First step, as always, factor out the greatest monomial factor. Everything here was divisible by 2, so I took a 2 out in front. What is left right here is 3 terms, so if I consult my chart, is it a perfect square trinomial? Absolutely not. Does it have a coefficient of 1? Absolutely not right here. So I must use the factor box. Inside of my factor box, I know I will have 6x squared and minus 5. I need to figure out these 2 numbers. These 2 numbers I know multiply to be negative 30x squared and add to be 7x. I am looking for positive 10x and negative 3x. To find my common factors, right here, common factor of 5. Right here, 3x. Did not quite leave myself room, did I? Let me erase this. Right here, 2x. And here, there's not anything they have in common except they both are negative. Remember, if a row starts with a negative or a column starts with a negative, you must factor out the negative. So my final answer of this factored form, I need the 2 in front, taken from my factor box, 3x plus 5, and from right here, 2x minus 1. Last one. How in the world can I factor this? Well, first check for the greatest monomial factor, which in this case there isn't one. So now I look for a perfect square trinomial. 3 terms, perfect square trinomial. Is this a perfect square? Well, this is 2x squared. This is 5 squared. Is this number twice the product of these two, the 2x and the 5? Well, that's 10x times 2 is 20x. So yes, this is a perfect square trinomial. Therefore, I know I need my one set of parentheses with a squared. What goes inside? 2x and 5 with a plus sign. What if I didn't recognize that this was a perfect square trinomial? I can use the factor box here. I know 4x squared goes here and 25 goes here. I'm just looking for two numbers that multiply to be 100x squared and adds to be 20x. Those two numbers I'm looking for, 10x and 10x. Here they both have 5 in common. Here they both have 2 and an x. Here they both have 2 and an x. And here they both have 5. Notice, 2x plus 5 times 2x plus 5. That is the same as the perfect square trinomial answer I got before. So you could write your answer like this, or like this. Either one's acceptable. That's the beautiful thing about the factor box. It will work if you don't remember the perfect square trinomial method. And it'll also work if you don't remember the coefficient of one method. When in doubt, use the factor box.